All right, all right, all right. Good morning, everybody. Let's get going. We've got things to do, people to see, places to go, stuff to talk about, and hopefully some fun to be had. All right, we got Mark Mdluli, and we've got Ryan, and we got me, and we got you, and that's all that matters this morning. So it's an all-male cast today. What can we say? All right. So how is it going, Mark? Nice to see you. You still have a couple of shows coming up, I saw, and I saw you advertising one or two of them on social media as well. So you're busy, right?
Yeah. We're trying, guys. We're trying. The game is not the same anymore. Can you hear me?
No, I can hear you loud and clear. You said the game.
Oh, right. Yeah. So, the game is changing. There aren't so many people coming out to shows anymore because there aren't as many comedy clubs and the like. So we're kind of all just doing whatever we can with whoever we can in order to get comedy going. So Mocha has been really great with regards to that because he's been organizing a lot of one-man shows for the comedians who are kind of established, but I like to say the comedians who were just about to make it before COVID.
Yeah,
and then COVID ruined things.
Yeah, it's good. It's good that there are people there are just some people who make things happen, and who like pick up the pieces and kind of get things going and do all the hard, heavy lifting behind the scenes. It's a really important part of every business that someone is doing that stuff.
Yeah. So it's been really quite a scary thing because now we figured, okay, so there's nothing and we have to build it from scratch. How do we do that? Because those of us who are young in comedy who've just come in, we kind of just stepped into an already set establishment. All the comedy clubs were alive. Parker's was alive. The Cape Town Comedy Club was alive. So there was an actual infrastructure in comedy.
What is still out there in terms of these places? Like what's still going strong?
There are 0 comedy clubs. So Cape Town Comedy Club is gone. Goliath Comedy Club is gone. Parker's Comedy Club is gone. But like I was saying earlier, all of them are gone. There's no comedy clubs in South Africa anymore. And that's what I mean by there's no infrastructure, there's no industry. We're all kind of just running around, scrambling, putting pieces together in order to get some comedy back in the country. So, for instance, we've got Samoka, who was mentioned, who's doing these one-man shows. And I think he's probably the most solid in terms of comedy at the moment because he has shows at Funk Bar, which is the one I'm doing on the 6th of October, celebrating my 30th birthday. With this beautiful skin, can you imagine? But Samoka has probably been the best in terms of a structure in comedy. Outside of that, we're all just kind of like doing shows at restaurants and hoping people will pick up on the trail, because that's been the hardest part, is people picking up the trail of where comedy happens. Because if there's no one dedicated place, it really could be just happening anywhere at any time, and that's been
probably like emceeing as well, right?
Yeah. emceeing as well. Dude, I'll MC a children's birthday party at the moment. I'll MC anything, bro. I'll MC at the petrol garage, just telling them the petrol price is going up and any job I'll take.
Oh, man.
It's been crazy.
Did you said something about this Heritage Day Festival. What was that all about? I didn't hear about it.
Yes. So it's meant to have a Heritage Day Festival on the 24th. We spoke about it the last time I was on the show.
What happened?
But Gareth, people like to talk on social media saying that they're coming to shows, but they don't buy tickets. That's the problem. So,
so what happened? Was it cancelled?
Yeah, we're postponing it at least. Just because we are doing it independently, like I've mentioned to you. We literally are like picking up the pieces from the ground, and we need support from people because it's also like we're relatively young comedians. I mean, I've been doing it for 7 years, which might sound like a lot to some people, but in terms of comedy, I'm a very young comedian. So we're doing it independently. There were no sponsors. It was just us. We're putting up our own money for the sound, our own money for the acts. I mean, we had Joey Rasdeen on the lineup. And anybody who's in comedy knows how expensive Joey Rasdeen is. So
hugely.
We couldn't risk having him on and not being able to pay them. Like that's happened to me in this
No,
game before.
definitely not. I mean,
Yeah,
this is not for it's not for shits and giggles. It's for giggles, but not for shits.
yeah,
So,
yeah, exactly. It's so business, and that's a lot of it. That's the thing that a lot of people get wrong in show business. They all remember the show, but people forget
Yeah.
about the business, and that's a very important aspect of what we're trying to achieve because it's more than now just comedy and making people laugh. We're literally trying to build an industry back up again, and that's why it was
Listen,
kind of disappointing to me because we've had little bit of comedy. Now that things are happening, people still aren't coming out. And I spoke to a lot of event organizers and they say they are struggling. So yeah, we're just hoping to get people back out there, especially by maybe doing shows like
I
this.
think that the live events thing is still, people are still not their heads are not right, and also their wallets are empty. I mean, that's the
Yeah,
reality too. It's like people's wallets are empty, and there isn't like a whole lot of cash going around for stuff like that there might have been before. I mean, I know
yeah.
people who are doing all kinds of other events, and they keep telling me it's really tough out there. So I mean, this is not novel.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Are you allowed to joke, for example, about that woman who was eaten by the shark over the weekend? Because we were talking about her yesterday, and I mean, like, obviously, there could be someone listening right now who's related to her or like is really upset about the whole thing. But I mean, being eaten by a shark is a pretty horrific way to go, but it's also really funny because
It-
out of all the things that can happen to you on planet
Exactly.
Earth now and all the things that can go wrong, to be eaten, I still think that that's the most humiliating way to die. I mean, you become food for another animal.
no,
That's
I
awful,
think
right?
I'd
Is
rather
there,
be eaten by a shark than die from polony, Gareth. People were dying
oh,
from
That's a
polony
yeah,
fun.
just now.
Yeah,
So I think
you know what?
getting
Yeah,
eaten by a
you're
shark
right.
is quite gangster. It's quite gangster. In heaven, it's like, how did you go? Ah, just a sandwich, bro. It's like, yo,
Yeah,
I was
oh,
in
man.
the one.
no, you know what? You made a good point. I always thought like being eaten by a shark would be the worst way to go, but you're right. Like polony is so humiliating. It's
Yeah,
like, ugh. Well, you should have known better. That processed meat stuff.
yeah.
Can I
Change your
ask, Mark?
diet, change your life.
Mm.
I want to ask, are the bigger comedians in South Africa like trying to help the younger comedians come up, or is it sort of a every man for himself situation? Like, what's the industry
You
like?
know, Ryan, this is actually something that we've truly been talking about in the industry a lot because the bigger guys have kind of drifted off into their own world where they've kind of always been successful or they've been successful for a long time, so they don't need to build the industry. So we've been talking a lot about where the big guys come in, and I was actually having this conversation.
But hang on, I just got it because none of them are here to like defend themselves. A lot of those guys, like David Gow and John Flismus, and those people, I mean Chris Forrest. Some of these people have put in an enormous amount of time and effort. Really helped a lot of comedians along on their way. I mean Mark Lottering, all the names are coming to me
Yeah,
now of like these
yeah,
guys who've really they've done an awesome job, and
yeah.
I can only imagine how difficult it is for a new comedian and for young comedians like you, Mark. But, you know, it's not like this open up the industry bullshit that you hear in television and everywhere else, because I do think that comedians generally, and we have a lot of comics on this show because I
Yeah,
like the comics. I really get along with them. They're smart people. They're funny. They're
yeah.
also really good people. Like they do care about each other. There is like a camaraderie there from the outside. And I mean, you can tell me whether it feels that way. And obviously, when you are not at the top of the food pyramid, again, we're onto like shark attacks and shit. But if you're not at the top of the food pyramid, then obviously it feels like, oh, hang on, these guys could be doing more. But I really think like South African comics generally help each other out, and they are mostly supportive of each other, don't you think?
100%. So I was having this conversation yesterday with a friend, and we were talking about the fact that they've done their part. Especially if you look at the Joe Parkers, the Vittorio Leonardis, the people who started like the Parkers, and the real essence of how comedy really started to bloom in South Africa. I mean, they built the comedy club, so it's kind of like they're tired now. They should be able to rest and retire. And we are the ones who are responsible of building this new era of comedy, because we still have the energy. We still have, you know, the
and
drive.
it's not their fault that COVID came along and fucked everything up.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's not that they don't support. I just feel like they've done their part. And now it's kind of our turn to bring in this new era of comedy, which we are still figuring it out as people who are trying to do events like the Heritage Day Festival and doing one-man shows and doing another show at Molly Malone with Chris Forrest. So we're trying. Well, I'm trying. I can't speak for everybody else.
On the 13th of October, you'll be doing something with Chris Forrest at Molly Malone's. That's very nice.
Yeah.
Right. So I hear Trevor Noah is coming to South Africa next year, and he's going to be. Now, when a guy who's that big and who's become such a huge name, when he comes back here, does it kind of suck the oxygen out of the room for everybody else? I mean, it must do, right? Because everybody will go, oh no. Rather than going to these three smaller things, I'm going to go to that one and spend properly on the ticket.
I see what you're saying, but I think in South Africa in particular, especially when it comes to Trevor Noah, we really celebrate him. We really, really, truly do celebrate him because he's done something incredible, not only in the comedy space, but in the world of entertainment and becoming. He's done something which no South African has been able to do. So seeing him is always, it's always an inspiration. It's always great that he comes back home, you know, because sometimes the people go and they don't come back, you know. And that's what everybody's been giving him so much shit about on social media. You'll see Trevor Noah's doing a world tour, but he doesn't even touch one country in Africa.
When do you want him to come? I mean, this is the problem, right? This guy he works every day of the week, and his weekends is very hard as well. So he doesn't have time to hop on a plane and come here and do a stupid show just for us because this is where he's from. I mean, really, like I love the way South Africans think they own a piece of you when they've done nothing to contribute to your success once you've moved overseas. I mean, really, everything he's done in the US, he's done on his own steam. So we don't own a piece of him. And second of all, the guy doesn't have a spare moment at this stage to breathe. If he manages to schedule something for September next year, that's quite a big deal. It means that he's really put that time aside and a long way ahead of time. So here quickly, Bastana wants to know, Lindy wants to know, are you the guy, Mark, who does the voiceover for that 80s show?
I am, Lindy. I really am. Wow, what a great pickup. Oh my word. Because that's not even like
people are paying attention.
Yeah.
Michael wants to know, has Lebang become too woke and got cancelled? No, she's not woke and she's not cancelled. She's got huge duties, and we've had problems with connecting her up during load shedding. So we've just been a little careful here because we don't want to end up with, the show not coming together properly because she couldn't connect or whatever. Maybe Trevor Noah, this is mean. Corona's boring. He's coming back to steal more jokes. Oh, no, wait. He got fired for not being funny, and now everyone knows he's a shill. Some very angry Corona's boring.
That Trevor Noah really on a Tuesday morning.
Can I just say, like, when Trevor Noah does come next year, the amount of topics he has to choose from just in South Africa alone over the last 2 years, I mean, he doesn't even have to prepare. To be quite frank, he just has to read a couple of headlines.
There's a lot.
We'll be on the floor.
I must say, though, Ramaphosa is not as funny of a president as Zuma, though.
Not at all, hey? He's really not.
Yeah, there's way more content in Zuma than Ramaphosa. Ramaphosa is just, because he has nothing to say, there's nothing to say about him.
Right. Listen, I got a couple of voice notes from some people here. Let's take a listen to one or two of these.
All right.
Hey Gareth, I've got a pretty random question for you. Yeah, so you were talking about this neighborhood WhatsApp group that you've got. Do you have your name on there, or do you go by an alias? I've always just wondered this about famous people and their privacy and their phone numbers. So are you there as Gareth Cliff? Does everyone know you in the neighborhood, or is it a Mickey Mouse or Donald Duck name that you put on there? Cheers, man.
do I use my own name on my neighborhood WhatsApp group? Well, I use my own. I mean, the people who live in the same area, they all know who I am. So, I mean, I know who they are as well. Mostly, that's certainly the neighbors on either side of me. But yeah, I mean, there's no, like, South Africa's not really a celebrity place. You know, there aren't really people who are so famous that they have to use an alias. No, I mean, these people they'll see me driving in and out. They'll see me walking my dog occasionally. You know, it's not like I'm some big deal who has to like hide away or walk around with bodyguards or have sunglasses on in the nighttime. And, you know,
do you still get asked for pictures every now and then?
Yeah, but not where I live.
Okay, yeah, no. Well.
Yeah. So
I actually have a clue as to why that's the case in South Africa, because I've always wondered why people don't become celebrities per se in South Africa. And I think it's because of how talented South Africans are as a general. So they're like anything anybody can do, they can do themselves. You know, if they see somebody dancing up on stage, there's somebody in the crowd who's dancing even better than whoever that dancer is.
I think there's some of that that's true. It's also, I don't think South Africans are that impressed by celebrity. You know, Americans love celebrities. So when someone famous walks down the street in America, then people will stop them and ask for pictures and ask for their autographs or whatever. I mean, certainly in America, that's part of the culture. You know, the British, they pretend that celebrities don't exist. Like you saw David Beckham standing in that queue for the Queen's funeral. I mean, he was standing in that queue for what, 12 or 13 hours or something. Yeah. And most of the people just left him alone. I think that's amazing. I think that's that's cool, you know, because really, who's that interested in people? It is weird. Like I often find it strange that sometimes when you go to a shop or whatever, like someone actually forgets their whole job because they now want a picture or something, and then they start like doing things that now upset the whole routine at their workplace. So like, let's say, for example, the cashier at the shop, like, you know, it recognizes someone famous, then they want a picture with that person. So they stop bringing up that the groceries and things. They stop doing their job. They like start shouting and screaming and like calling everyone else over. And then it starts a backlog. It starts like a logjam of people who now can't get their groceries done because this person wants a picture. I always find that very weird. So, I mean, that's something that still happens.
It's strange, but I actually do like that about South Africa, that there is no like huge celebrity culture, no matter how big you get, because I do think it's a weird thing to praise somebody who you don't actually know. You know their art, but it doesn't mean you know who the person is.
Yeah, that's true. But I mean, we don't really have famous people in South Africa. You know, it was Nelson Mandela, Desmond Tutu, and then like everybody else. And really,
when Trevor Noah comes,
probably climbing the ladder now.
Literally gonna rip him.
I think Trevor's properly world famous, and so is Charlize Theron, and so is Princess Charlene. I think those three are the only three you could say are in that league.
But with Trevor Noah, they'll still talk to him like he's a man on the street. Like people won't be scared. They'll still rip him for not coming to this country. They won't be.
Oh yeah, they always do. They always do.
But again, people think they own certain celebrities. You don't own a damn thing about that person. They've got their own life to live, and they live perfectly happily without your yes or no. So here's an interesting question.
Oh, okay.
Go on. No, go.
I was gonna say, don't call it a world tour if you're not coming to Africa. Because now I'm gonna do a tour only in Africa and call it a world tour. Yeah. Only going to Namibia, Ghana, and Kenya.
You know, America has the baseball World Series, and it's just them in Canada, but it's called the World Series. It's like
it's like Europe versus the world in tennis this past weekend.
Angus rightly points out Elon Musk, but he doesn't consider himself South African. No. So I don't know if we can, you know. So here's a question, and this is a good question from Sean, who wants to know, what is the earliest you can either vacuum your car or start mowing your lawn? Like, especially over a weekend. Like, when is it considered really thoughtless and inconsiderate and unkind to start vacuuming or mowing the lawn or using a leaf blower over a weekend? What do you reckon?
I'd say 10.
10 a.m.
Yes.
10
10 is late, but I think you could probably get away with 9. I think you could probably get away even in some places, maybe 8.
Not that many people in my neighborhood care too much about it, but I'd say 10 is like an acceptable time to start up a vacuum.
Right.
How serious is this guy about his vacuuming and lawn mowing that he has to ask this question? It's like, yo, guys, I'm really panicking about it.
Well, he's obviously got a lot of people in his neighborhood who give a shit about that. They like that. Obviously, he's been told, don't do it too early. You're ruining the neighborhood or whatever.
Also, I feel like it also depends on the kind of space you're in. Like, are you in a small sort of, put together area, or are you in private housing, with a couple spaces in between? Are you in a complex? Because I feel like if you're in a complex, it's just.
So Steve says, who cares? Because if there is power, you just have to do it while there is power.
We don't have a choice anymore.
I just think that anything earlier than 8 is really not cool, especially over a weekend. If people want to sleep late, the last thing you need is like loud noises outside. At the same time, I mean, this is part of what we all have to be used to with living right near each other and on top of each other. Is people have to. You just have to try and be a little bit considerate, but also be tolerant of other people. Some people are working like 2 jobs. They don't have time to mow the lawn at 10 a.m. because they're in job number 1, and they can't do it at 5 p.m. because they're in job number 2. So maybe the only time they can get to do this is like 7 in the morning. Who knows? It's like when do you fit in most of your stuff in the day? Do you prefer to wake up really early and do things like your grocery shopping or your gym or your whatever it is, or do you want to do that at the end of the day? Because people's days are busy. It's not like they're just buggering around the whole time,
Yeah.
Also, some places where you live have those regulations where they tell you when and what time you can do certain things.
Carl says, depending on the age of people around you, very old people are up early as fuck. Yeah, that's true. Old people. They love waking up early.
Yeah. It's because they're trying to maximize their time on the planet. They realize.
That's right. Yeah.
Running out, let me wake up super early and get a few more hours in.
It's so true. All right. Well, we got a couple other things to get to. I just wanted to play out 1 or 2 of these voice notes before we run out of time this morning.
How's it going? You're speaking to Chris here.
Chris,
I was just listening to your 15 social rules or whatever that podcast, that one. And
Friday,
when you were mentioning, or someone mentioned the whole issue about people scrolling on your phone when you show them a picture, I think and then you made the remark that you're not sure if that fits with the theme of the important indispensable social rules or whatever, but I think you're actually perhaps overlooking something there, because to my mind some people don't understand the inherently private nature that is a cell phone, or of a cell phone, because it's like if you're just scrolling through someone's phone, you might as well be looking through their underwear drawer, feverishly scratching in there,
Yeah.
I just think it's actually a new realm of politeness that needs to be taken cognizance of a bit more. Because for me personally, like, I hate when I even have to check someone's, like a message for someone on their WhatsApp, because it just doesn't feel right being in someone's phone like that. But anyway, that's just my little remark.
What do you think, gentlemen? I mean, is Chris making a good point here about how your phone, if someone goes through your phone or they look at your pictures and things and they're just scrolling left and right and up and down, it's kind of it's private stuff. It's like rummaging in your underwear drawer, he says. What do you think?
I couldn't agree more, to be honest. A phone is such a personal thing, because it's not just where you are right now, it's also your past life that's in there. And I also figured, like, when somebody shows me their phone and they want me to see a picture, and maybe there's more than one picture to see, I'm so worried about scrolling and finding something like weird. I really do think it is a personal thing, and yeah, we shouldn't feel entitled to people's cell phones. Especially in relationships, I think people feel entitled to their partner's phones in
I,
their relationship.
I'm
But I don't
I'm
think
super careful of going left and right when someone shows me a picture. I'm like, oh, you hold the phone and just rather show me, just in case.
yeah, exactly.
Sounds like sex video from last night, you know.
I think if somebody gives you permission to go through it, I think it's okay. But other than that, like, you shouldn't just be going on someone's phone.
Who gives someone permission? Just go through my phone, you know? Even
no,
in
well, like check a message or something, you know, like just check a message from me.
All right, so here's the tough question, and I mean we've got like 2-3 minutes before we have to get to headlines, but this is an interesting one. Do you think that it is ever justified for someone, even in a relationship, to go through their partner's phone while that person isn't there, or, you know, to like kind of use their, I don't know, to use their fingerprint or to use their code, if you know their code, get into their phone and then start going through their stuff? Is that ever justified? Or does it just lead to pain?
It will just lead to pain. 100%. Because here's the thing, I've been thinking about this a lot, and we're gonna get deep now, but when it comes to your cell phone and the people you talk to, it's not like you are just talking to men. Let's say you're a man. It's not like you're just conversing with men. Whether those people, the other people you're talking to, friends or old acquaintances, they still might be of the female variant or the opposite gender. So even if your partner looks through your phone, those conversations with those people who are not of your gender are going to hurt your partner, regardless of what that conversation is about. Because then it's like, oh, why are you talking to these chicks? It's like, I know this chick from high school and like she wants to come to a show, or whatever the case might be. And I feel like it's the same for me, especially on a woman's phone, because I know how much men like to slide into the DMs, regardless of whether she has a boyfriend or not. I don't want to see that. I really, really don't, because I know it's happening. You just have to trust and have faith that your partner is working out that situation fairly and with respect towards you at the end of the day. But me actually going through and like reading all the DMs my girl gets, no, thank you. No, thank you. You will just find pain.
Well, Sam says it's like using someone's toothbrush without their permission. It's too personal.
All right, fair enough.
I just think if you start down that road and you're prepared to like read someone's messages, you see, you don't know the context. And I'm not saying that every message has an explanation. Like, there are obviously people who are just, you know, sexting up a storm and hedging their bets, and like, you know, they're keeping some side action going because they don't want to rely all on one. But I just think that unless you understand the context of every single one, you're going to jump to conclusions, and all it's going to do is produce a world of pain for you. I really don't think that there's a way that this can end happily. If the person whose phone it is wanted you to know that stuff, they would already have told you and explained it to you. If you go around, you go digging around on someone's phone, and you know, there are all these people who are like, oh yeah, but if you've got nothing to hide, then let me see. It's not so much about things to hide. It's like these messages were meant for me, not for you, and I need to explain them to you if you want to understand the context. But you don't want to understand the context. The reason you're fishing around is because you're hoping to find something, and if you're looking for something, you will find it.
That's
100%. And I'm already on the defensive once you found it. I can't even tell you the context of how I met this person, why we have the relationship we do, the fact that they're all the way in India or whatever the case might be. But you've already, by going through it, you've already decided that I've done something wrong. So there is no way to even give you context, even though there might be very valid context, which there is most of the time. So
and I mean, if you know, again, like if you ask for this trouble, if you look for this trouble, you will find it. I love this from Carl. He says it depends. If your partner's an 8 or above, you leave their phone alone. Below 8, it's the Adam Levine scale, and even he fucked it up.
Oh,
that
man.
is so mean.
The Adam Levine thing is just hysterical. Like every girl on TikTok is trying to expose something. Like, he watched my story, and I'm like, he probably watches everybody else's story. Like, I don't know. It's a hilarious conversation.
Don't you love those people who are like, they sort of stalk, not retrospectively, they stalk the people who are stalking them. So they watch who's watching their stories, who's repeat watching their stories, and then they expect this to go well for them. They expect like they're inferring a whole lot of meaning to bullshit like who's watching their story. Don't try and read into that. You don't know. Someone's finger might have just slipped and they might have gone back and watched it again by mistake. They could be driving and their phone dropped while they were driving or something. It's not all about you. Not everybody's as obsessed with you as you are, you know?
My whole thing is,
I've watched stories unintentionally. Like, let's say you're on Instagram and you press a story and you get distracted by something. Instagram still carries on watching those stories.
Yeah, it does. Right. Yeah.
So it's like you've watched 10, 15 people's stories, but you only saw the first one.
My whole thing is, if they had seen Adam Levine watching their stories before this whole thing, they would have posted a screenshot and said, Adam Levine just watched my story. But now that there's this whole like trend going on, now it's like, oh, look at this disgusting man. And then they post that same picture. And it's like, oh.
That's what your story is there for. We're supposed to see it.
Everyone's like jumping on the trend.
Here's the thing that nobody wants to talk about there with this Adam Levine situation. I wonder how many of those women, if they were in a position to have an affair with Adam Levine before all of this information came out, I wonder how many of them would have taken that opportunity. Probably 90%, probably 99% of them. It's certainly not like any kind of, now that you're going through and digging through, trying to find something to make the guy look bad, because obviously he's a hound. He's obviously trying to, get as much action as he can. And I don't understand it, but the guy's been busy. He's got opportunities being thrown at him left, right, and center.
With California tattooed on his stomach. Come on.
Humans are going to do what humans do. So let's not start pretending that we're holier than thou. I never understood this. People who like going around saying, I would never do that. I'm better than that. Yeah, sure you are. You just don't look as good as Adam Levine. And life has never thrown you those opportunities. You're not a rock star. You don't have all the money and the success that he's got. How would you even know how you'd respond? Because for all we know, you're already a douchebag, but you're a poor and ugly douchebag. Imagine if you were rich and good looking. How much worse would you be then?
Do you remember when the whole internet was convinced that A$AP Rocky and Rihanna had broken up?
Oh,
meanwhile,
because
they were just chilling on an island, like by themselves.
Right. Yeah. You see, this is why I actually have beef with this internet thing, because as much as it's useful and it's helpful, yes, it is 100%. But it's this other realm, this other world where all of a sudden the human aspects of us disappear, and we just have this idea of what we're supposed to be and how we're supposed to behave, and it's not real. And it bothers me so much, because like you're saying, Gareth, if those girls with the stories saw Adam Levine in real life, they'll jump on first thing, but because they are distanced from him, they can be more virtuous than they would be in real life, because nobody actually knows.
There are two people here very confused by this. First of all, Michael says, enlighten us, please. What is this Avril Lavigne? No, it's not Avril Lavigne. No one is even talking about Avril Lavigne. No one's mentioned Avril Lavigne for years, but okay, Michael.
We're talking about boy, and he said, see you later, boy.
That's right. That's Avril Lavigne back in the day. Didn't she? Isn't she married to the guy from Nickelback?
No, she's divorced. She's divorced.
Are they divorced?
Yeah, she's now engaged to a guy named Modson, who's part of Machine Gun Kelly's crowd, and they're currently just touring the US right now.
Look at this. How the hell do you know that?
I love entertainment and music. It's my thing. And Avril Lavigne is one of my favorite singers of all time. Like,
I'm impressed. All right, so
there are people 4 shows in 24 hours.
Sorry, there are people like Ryan who care about Avril Lavigne. So you're not wrong to bring her up, Michael. Let's just explain. Adam Levine is the guy from Maroon 5. and he's done a whole bunch of TV shows, and he's been, one of those guys who, lots of girls thought was very attractive. He ended up marrying a girl from Namibia called Bahati Prinsloo, and she's very hot. She's like a Victoria's Secret model, and they've had 2 kids together. She's pregnant with their 3rd kid, and all of this cheating was going on supposedly while she's been pregnant with the 3rd kid. So that's the whole story in a nutshell. But the other person who's confused is Annette. She says, how do you know if somebody's watching me? So
Can I tell you what? It's better. It's better. It's better that you don't know.
She shouldn't know.
I'm saying life is easier if you don't know.
Okay, but how do you actually find out who's watching your stuff on Instagram? Tell her.
If you put a story up, so you get posts and stories are something that you can post and it only stays up for like 24 hours in a day.
Mm-hmm.
And when you post the story up, you can, as you being the user, like your profile, you can see which of your followers, or maybe even people who don't follow you, see your stories. And so you can keep track of it. And so sometimes if you mention a celebrity or you mention a person, they can go and see your story. And so Adam Levine is clearly looking at other people's stories, and everyone's just taking photos of it and assuming that he's gonna, I don't know.
But who isn't these days? I mean, who isn't on the internet all the time, right? Even like famous celebrities are on the internet all the time. That's where you get your information. That's where you connect with the people you do know, some of the people you don't know. It's a thing that everybody's doing. It's not a standout thing, is it?
No, even LinkedIn, like LinkedIn tells you who views your profile, which is
right.
Also quite crazy. And LinkedIn, there's a lot more strangers on there because a lot of people just connect to different people in the workplace more than,
Well, I mean, if ever I've got to meet someone who I don't know at all, I'll go and check out their LinkedIn profile. It's part of the research.
Mm.
It's kind of like the Tinder thing as well, like celebrities on Tinder. They get so much flack for that. Although I think as a celebrity, you should get flack if you're on Tinder. You're a celebrity, bro. Go outside. There'll be girls for you.
Leave Tinder for the rest of the people. Don't be so greedy.
It wasn't made for you.
Lindy says this is precisely what annoys me about the Adam Levine story. These women have been having affairs with him for years and no one knew. It suddenly turned into a Me Too movement. Yeah, but this is it. It's like if you're one of these, and let's face it, this Instagram model, Sumner, whatever her name is, I mean, nobody would even care whether this person was alive or dead before Adam Levine. No, seriously. I mean, don't get me wrong, she's very attractive, but that's all she's got going for her. And there are a million Instagram models like her, right? A million. And there are plenty of them who probably you would objectively say even prettier. Some of them have, more personality. Some of them aren't suffering from a victim complex like she is. Who knows? But the fact is we only know her name because of Adam Levine. She mustn't pretend now that, she's been somehow victimized by all of this. The only reason you're famous, honey, is because of him. So
and she's going to probably start a podcast now.
Oh, for sure. And it'll be, and everyone will listen to the first episode. And by episode 3, no one will be listening, not even her family. Corona's Boring says, oh no, that's something else. Queen Elizabeth is watching my stories from an undisclosed island she's on, says Woody. Yeah, I've heard a lot of people suddenly getting messages from Queen Elizabeth asking them to send her money.
Wasn't that Mash the other day?
Yeah. Vincent says, I'll give my girlfriend a hall pass to Schlimp Adam Levine. The man is handsome. Okay, well,
Well, there you go.
There are those couples who have their what do they call it? The a hall pass, or is there another word for it?
No, hall pass is
some other word. We're like
a celebrity list or something like that, like 5 celebrities.
Right. You get your 5 people. If those people ever come into your life or her life or whatever, then you will forgive them for those. Yeah. You get me. I think 5 is a bit ambitious, but let's say 3, because I mean, who's gonna, might as well be 10 then. And if it's 10, why not 100? And by the time you get to 100, what kind of relationship do you even have?
Also, just be careful what you wish for, I always say.
All right, well, let's look at some headlines quickly. There's some serious stuff going on. That, of course, this is why we have Mark Mdluli, because the serious stuff is his area of expertise. You know, he may be a comedian, but he's actually a political analyst. So let's look at some of the stuff. South Africa's. So, are you surprised by this? Just hold before you start laughing out loud. South Africans want to work a 4-day week on full pay. Surprise, surprise.
Wow.
A coalition of South African organizations, including Productivity SA, is now recruiting for a pioneer pilot in 2023, where employees and participating companies will work 80% of their current hours for 100% of their pay. These companies and a growing body of research can expect to achieve 100% of their current output while saving money. They may also help solve unemployment, make life easier for single mothers, and contribute to reducing climate change, among other benefits. If your boss needs some convincing, the local 4-day week organization would like to help, and they would like to convince your boss or the board or equivalent oversight body that the change should be permanent. Current experience suggests it may not be very difficult to do this. One of the world's biggest 4-day work trials is in the United Kingdom. It's just hit its halfway point this week. Of the 70 companies that participated, 86% of them plan to keep a 4-day schedule when it ends, citing the same benefits generally reported in such experiments. Happier people, better output, lower costs. Okay, so go ahead. I know you two are like itching to either tear this thing apart or to say, I love it. So go, Mark, you're our main man on this front. I said you're the political analyst. Go for it. What do you say? 4-day week?
I'm with your latter on the I love it, Gareth. Because, there's two parts to the story. Okay, the first is whether they can do all the work that they need to do within those 4 days, which I believe they can. Like, even when I was in the corporate world, I always felt like the last 2 hours of the day are useless. They're trash. I'm not doing anything. I'm kind of distracted. I'm watching YouTube, whatever the case might be. So if they can do their work in those 4 days, I think 100%. And secondly, guys, do we not all need a 3-day weekend? 2 days is not enough. It's just not enough, because you get to Saturday and it's like, it's you have 1 day of fun, because Sunday you're miserable because you're going in the next day. Friday you're miserable because you were at work.
That is not true. South Africans, I mean, there are places in South Africa that are busiest on a Sunday, and I'm always like, how do these guys? You know, you see these clubs and these parties that are going on a Sunday, and you're like, you people have to work tomorrow. How the hell are you partying on a Sunday?
It's called Suicide Sunday, Gareth. We do it as a self-punishment.
You have 0% chance of getting me out of my house on a Sunday. Sunday's recovery day. It's like, get out of my life, get out of my house, get out of my world. I want to just lie around and be lazy and get ready for the week. I don't know how people can do it. I mean, I'm not going to take it away from them. I'm not the government, but Sundays, just keep those open recovery. Listen, if we do a 4-day week, here's the problem. I would like to believe South Africans could keep up their productivity over 4 days and do as much. And I think there are a lot of people who could squeeze into 4 days what they do in 5, and they could get that bonus. But I don't think we're disciplined enough. I mean, we're not even disciplined enough in this country to pitch up on time. We're not disciplined enough to follow the basic rules. You look at South Africa. I mean, we don't care. South Africans don't give a shit about rules. People are getting sick notes from sangomas. People are getting, they're taking like shortcuts everywhere they can. I don't believe we could do this. I just don't think we're disciplined enough as a nation.
Yeah, I think, in South Africa in particular, that is something we'd have to fight, because we do have a reputation for being lazy, and it's kind of well deserved. Like, how many public holidays do we need, guys? For real. There's a month in, I think it's like April, where you just can't get anything done because of the amount of public holidays that come in a row.
Exactly. So, now imagine you got people like, because then all that'll happen is, that lazy Friday afternoon stuff where you can get nothing done because people aren't even in the office. After 11 o'clock in Cape Town on Friday morning, there's no chance you can get people to do anything. Oh, can you send me that invoice? oh no, it'll have to wait till Monday. All that's going to happen, if we do a 4-day week and it goes Monday to Thursday, people are going to be like that on a Thursday.
My whole
That's
thing is
actually true. That's
also
actually true.
infrastructure to hold up.
What's
And
that?
if we South Africa's a hectic infrastructure to hold up, and if we're taking 1 day a week, there's only going to be certain companies that are going to benefit from it, because like the service industry can't do a 4-day week.
Exactly.
So,
Also,
but I think it's an approach to a new style of working, and I think COVID kind of brought that up for the whole world, where you don't have to work the way we've been working in the past. There are different ways to do the things, and I think maybe it's an attempt at that.
I think the other thing is that they're trying to find ways of creating more employment. So, in other words, if they employ you, Mark, for 4 days, then we can give Ryan a job for the other 3. That's what some people are saying. So then the company keeps paying the same amount of money out, except they divide it 4 days and 3 days. And then they pay 2 people instead of 1, so that they're 2 people who are earning a salary rather than 1. But I don't see that working either, because if it means less work for you and it means less money for you, then why would you do that? You'd prefer to do the 5-day week and keep all the money to yourself.
I'm working if I'm getting paid. That's it.
That's right. I mean, if you're not getting paid, why would you be working? So Tracy says, can you imagine a 4-day week with all the load shedding? Productivity will be at an all-time low. That's another thing to think about, right? Yeah. Listen, if we were more disciplined, I'd say sure, but I don't believe it's possible. And I also don't think, like, why is it always the employers and the companies that have to take the hit on this stuff? So you make people's lives, I mean, all that crap about like mental health and climate change. There is not a single person in South Africa who gives such a shit about climate change that they'll take a salary cut. No one. Show me the person in South Africa who's going to take like 20% off of their salary so that they can help the planet. No one. They will not.
No ways. I want to go out rich.
Dude, I mean,
if you're going out, I want to go out with money.
Imagine the kind of person who'd be like, no, I don't mind taking a hit on my salary so I can help climate change. Please, said no one ever.
I'll tell you who can have a 4-day working week is the guy who keeps turning off the electricity. He can have a 4-day working week. We can have a 3-day weekend with power.
No, he works hard. It's weird. Swatcut says, it's weird how South Africans have a reputation for being lazy here, but overseas we have a reputation for being hard workers. Why do you think that is? Well, I think what happens there is because we have to up our game and we have to compete against everyone else in the world. Once we're outside of South Africa, we do open up, we do work harder, we do put in the extra effort. But here at home, we look around and it's like in the land of the blind, the one-eyed is king. So people are like, well, I'll do a little bit less because you know what? Like these other people are even lazier than me, so I can tone it down a bit. I think that's what happens.
Yeah.
The 4-day week works, and Monday is the extra day, but they must add 2 hours to each day for productivity, says Yonda. Now that's interesting. Would you be prepared to do? So you get Mondays off, like Monday's an extra part of the weekend, but on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, you have to work an extra 2 hours on all of those 4 days. Would you be able to do it then? Think that would work?
Yeah, like it's virtually now just make the extra day then, because I don't want to go into work for 2 hours. If I'm gonna go into work, let me go into work, let me grind, and then come back.
No, but two extra
2 hours extra, yeah.
In other words, you do your normal 9 to 5, but then it would be 9 to 7.
So it'd be 10 hours essentially of work.
I think that's tough. See, I'd rather work less across the 5 days, to be perfectly honest. And then you can fit in other stuff like we were talking about just now when you have to go to gym or you have to collect the post or you have to go to the shops or whatever. You need to have those gaps in the day. Otherwise, you're going to be, you're rushed off your feet. And if you're doing 10 hours at the office, I think that's hard. I think that for a lot of people is going to mean, 10 hours away from the kids, the wife, the family, you can't do anything else. That's a tough one. I don't know. Anyway, just an interesting idea and one thing that South Africans are mulling at the moment.
People
are saying Hamba Guedemantashe at a Congress. This is interesting. So Guedemantashe, whose background is in the trade unions, was told to Hamba by Kasatu, and they refused to be addressed by him at Gallagher in Midrand. Apparently, they said, get out. We're not interested in hearing from you. They booed him. He was heckled by Kasatu members as he tried to make his way on stage. Members also proceeded to sing Asina Mali and also chanted Hamba Gwede and refused to calm down or stop their disruption. It appears the Kasatu members were expressing their frustration over a proposed 3% wage increase for public servants. 3%? They're lucky. The rest of us are getting 0%. Anyway, Mantashe appeared unconcerned by the rejection. He sang along before he was escorted off stage by the ANC's national executive members, Mamaloko Kubai and Lindiwe Zulu, and security. The delegates continued to sing and cheer as he made his way off stage, and after the session had adjourned. Oh my God, what a mess. What a mess. I would also sing Hamba Gwede, because really we should Hamba. So I'm with, I never thought I'd say this, but I'm with Kasatu, even though I think that 3% is too much for them. This is interesting, and the DA has asked, why are ANC Youth League officials acting as observers in the Russian referendums? Can you believe that? This is apparently happening. The DA said, the DA said they have information about ANC Youth League members who are in Russia legitimizing Russian referendums, which are aimed at validating the annexation of the Ukrainian territory by the Russian military. ANC Youth League officials are acting as international observers at these. Why would anyone in the world want the ANC Youth League to be observers at their election? I mean, we know these guys are completely unreliable. Who's even in the ANC Youth League at this point? I think all the people who aren't the people who mattered left. They were the ones who left like 8 years ago to be in the EFF, right?
Yeah, but why are they watching them? What do they get? What do they have to benefit from that? What do they have to gain? I don't understand the reasoning.
I wouldn't be surprised if Russia's paying them. I mean, you know, the ANC Youth League will do anything if you pay them. They will ratify a murder on the street if you give them some money for it. I don't think you could trust those guys to do anything. All right, so that's a funny, odd story. And then Italy has a new prime minister, and people are calling her far right. Of course, this comes from the BBC. So anything that isn't left of Vladimir Lenin is considered right-wing. Her name is Giorgia Meloni, and she is the new prime minister of Italy, and the first ever female prime minister. She's widely expected to form Italy's most right-wing government since World War II. You see, they just love this. They love saying she's so right-wing. You know what this is? This is a reaction to everything being so left-wing for the last 50 years. What do you guys expect is going to happen? And it doesn't mean that she's Mussolini, because they're actually saying she's the most right-wing person since Mussolini. Do you know what she believes in? Do you know what this woman believes in? This very controversial woman? She believes in family values. She believes men are men and women are women. She says no to Islamist violence. She says yes to being whatever you are, whether you're a mom or a dad or a brother or a sister or whatever. And she says no to mass migration, yes to secure borders, no to big international finance, and no to the EU. So, of course, she must be stopped. But she ended up getting the most votes, and she's now the prime minister. So people are shitting themselves in the EU because the EU's, first of all, got a major problem on its hands. Germany has no energy. France is going to be cold. Poland, Belgium, all of these countries are looking at a very, very cold winter, and Russia is not going to give them cheap gas and oil because of the war that's going on. So the EU is like, what are we going to do? Oh, I know. We'll just blame everything on some woman who's managed to get votes in Italy because people in Italy are sick to death of the left wing. Anyway, we'll see what happens there. But she's pretty impressive. And I've seen some of her speeches which are translated. Obviously, my Italian's not good enough. And it doesn't appear to me like she's some kind of hardcore fascist on the right. She's just someone who believes in traditional values, which, of course, to anyone who isn't on the moderate right, sounds like, oh, this woman's crazy. Basically, she's going to be bringing back fascism, according to them. And then finally, Rihanna is going to headline the Super Bowl halftime show. No, the reason I'm sighing is like, who's still getting excited about the Super Bowl halftime show? The last time anyone cared about this was when Beyonce did it.
Well, I mean, at this year's one, it was quite a controversial one because it was all the rappers from the West Coast. It was like Snoop Dogg and Eminem and Dre. So that was quite a big one. It was the first time it was hip hop as well, which was big for the industry. But now with Rihanna, no one's heard from her for years. We've heard she's been working on a new album. And so now with Rihanna headlining, I mean, I'm excited. I think it's going to be great.
All right. Okay. What do you say,
For
Mark?
me, it's about the music. What music is she going to do? She hasn't made music in so long. It's like she has to go and do all those classics that she has released before, which, I mean, people always do at the Super Bowl show anyway. Like, they don't do fresh music. They'll do all the classics. Like, she'll probably do Call Me Rude Boy, Ponder Replay. Yeah. But I think it's awesome. I think it's really awesome. And there seems to always be controversy around non-white performers at the Super Bowl. But I guess because we know the clientele that the NFL audience is. But also, on top of that, I was watching the Jennifer Lopez documentary on Netflix, and they say the reason why there was so much controversy with her and Shakira is because these skinny old white ladies were looking at Jennifer Lopez's body and being like, "Oh, why can't mine jiggle like that?" That's why it's so controversial at the end of the day.
Jennifer Lopez, is she suddenly, she's like a representative of like brown women? Are you kidding? Jennifer Lopez. I mean, sorry, Jennifer Affleck, because now they're married, right?
Yeah, that's true.
All right.
That's true.
All right. Well, that's all we got time for in this hour. We've got blind history and a bunch of other good stuff coming at you in the next hour. So stick around. cliffcentral.com. It is Tuesday morning, and it is, what is the date today? What is it?
27th, isn't it?
27. Okay, so lots of good stuff coming. Mark Mdluli and Ryanton, and we've got Gareth, Cliff. We got everybody. So stick around. More because we'll be back in a second. Where's this thing? Hey, here it is.
This week on the Auto Trader podcast.
Moving on. So back to the article that I was referring to earlier. I don't know if you saw this, but essentially earlier this month, the government announced that there's going to be an increase to the excise duty of tires. Now, this increase is 38.3%. And it's kind of causing waves around the country because now tires, potentially, specifically tires that are imported, are going to be 38% times more expensive.
You know what my opinion on this is?
38% more expensive.
I am all for local manufacture.
Mm-hmm.
Local manufacture in a country is going to win hands down for that country 6 times a week.
For sure.
Catch us every Monday at 9 a.m. on YouTube and on autotrader.co.za.
Just because it's about technology, connecting your business to the rest of the world doesn't mean you need to send rockets to space and use complicated solutions. Want to simplicate things? Well, join Jaco Voigt, who is the CEO of Catalytic, on the Unbundled podcast. With skin in the game and a keen focus on educating and assisting you and your business, Jaco decodes all the aspects of connectivity, security, and cloud solutions. Unbundled is brought to you by Catalytic and is available on cliffcentral.com, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. That's correct, wherever you get your podcasts, and we are live this Tuesday morning. I see that Bitcoin is not moving anywhere. It's $20,052 as we speak, but the Rand, woo, did you see what the Rand was trading at yesterday in terms of the dollar? Good Lord. If you're not watching that, it was like 18 Rand to the dollar or something yesterday. And
we're at the 18 mark already.
Yeah. It's not going well. So anyone who is planning any trips overseas, cancel.
I was planning on buying some stuff from Amazon. Now it's the price.
So there are a couple of comments here. Some people are giving me the gears because they say just because I don't like Rihanna doesn't make it cuck. Chris says, no, I don't think she's cuck. I'm like, I just wonder about all these big events. So the reason I went earlier is because someone mentions the Grammys, the Oscars, the Emmys, the Super Bowl, any of this stuff. I'm like, these big events just don't have the pull that they used to have. And Vessel makes the point too. He says the last time the Super Bowl halftime show was big was when Janet Jackson's titty popped. That's correct. Remember when that happened?
Or when Michael Jackson's hair caught fire.
Because I do remember her titty popping out, but I don't recall it being the Super Bowl. But anyway,
we're getting to travel with Mark Mdluli this morning. Look at him. Where are you going to?
Children's theater.
Oh, very good. Look at this. We get to be a part of your entourage today. I like this.
Yeah, I do this now, so it's like a part of my work experience. So I have to do it with you guys. Sorry, unfortunately.
That's all right. We don't mind. We get to witness this. We get to be a part of it. Fly on the wall. Okay.
So yeah, I'll talk about Rihanna and the person who doesn't like them. Firstly, I don't trust you, whoever doesn't like Rihanna, because I just think she's amazing. Not only just musically, but what she's done in terms of being the female artist that she is and the music that she's put out, which has been able to reach more than just females. Because there was a long time in the industry where female music was only for female listeners, and Rihanna was probably
stop it. Bullshit. Everyone loves Rihanna. There's no group of people who's sitting there going, oh, screw Rihanna, we don't like her. Show me one of those people. And if there's someone
who the comments now.
No, but I never said I didn't want Rihanna. I just said who cares about the Super Bowl halftime show anymore? It's not as big as it used to be, which is the truth. The ratings on all of these things are dropping like a stone. It's got nothing to do with whether it's Rihanna. I mean, I don't have a problem with Rihanna. I think Rihanna is great. In fact, as I recall, I had quite a lot to do with making that song about let the Jamason sink in, I'll drink to that. It's been a big song in the country. I don't have an issue with Rihanna. Stop climbing into me. Please don't go down that road of like women performers don't get the love that they suppose. Oh, bullshit. Will someone tell Madonna that, please? And will someone tell Janet Jackson earlier on? There are thousands of women who have done extremely well in the entertainment business. Please don't just start your crap about how women have a tough time in the entertainment business. The entertainment business is tough for everybody. I don't buy that shit for a second.
I thought there was just shade being thrown at Rihanna specifically in that comment.
No. And you really think Rihanna gives a damn what someone in South Africa thinks about her doing the halftime show? We're just talking about it. I think the halftime show isn't as interesting as it used to be. That's all I'm saying. And it's going to be tough for Rihanna to get the audience to watch, because the Super Bowl is not as big a thing as it may have been. That's all I'm saying. Anyway, we'll see what happens. We'll see it in the ratings. That's all. That's how we'll know.
Yeah.
All right. So one more of these voice notes that I wanted to play for you before we wrap that up for the morning. So here, take a listen to this.
So listen, I've heard a few requests for Damon's comeback. Do you guys recall when Damon almost closed the boot on Bernice's head? And you're claiming, Gareth, that Bernice is the reason that Damon doesn't come back. So lesson learned here is that Damon didn't close the boot hard enough. BTW, my name is Candy.
I like that, Candy. I think I might have played this last week, but yes. I don't think there's any chance of Damon making a comeback anytime soon because his wife won't let him. That's what I understand from my sources close to the people in the story. She just doesn't want him to be a part of the show. So I don't think that's going to happen. Anyway, maybe he's also decided he doesn't want to be. People move on. Things change. Not everybody sticks around for the whole show. So and I also understand that. And if he wanted to do his own thing, I did send him a message for his birthday on the 1st of September, and he replied and said thanks very much. And then he sent me some weird message. Let me just read it to you quickly because this is hilarious. So we it's not like we don't talk at all, but I mean, he doesn't have to be on the show. He said, "The Queen died. Spread the word."
It's so different.
Yeah, that's pretty funny. I like it. All right. So apparently you were watching Disney Plus this week, and you found something interesting, Ryan.
Yeah, so it was actually it was actually YouTube. I don't know why I wrote Disney, but I was on YouTube and I was watching some Phineas and Ferb content, and I happened to come across a video of you doing a voiceover on Phineas and Ferb. I didn't know you did this. This is one of the coolest things ever. I told Aaron about it. We were freaking out. We were like, "How cool is this?"
Oh wow!
I had a little cameo. They asked me to do this. This is years ago, though. I mean, this is probably Jesus. Let me not get it wrong. Maybe 10, 11 years ago.
Wow.
Disney asked me to be the voice of one of these little pop-up once-in-a-lifetime characters. And they apparently do this with people all over the world. I mean, it's cool that I've been on a Disney cartoon as a voice, character voice. But honestly, you're the first person to bring it up in like 8 years. So
I didn't know this. We had a chat in the office afterwards, and I was like, I didn't know Gareth did a voice. So how did that even happen?
It's like none of you knew that I was that I had a cameo in Generations with Sophie and David. I've been around a long time, dude. I've ticked a whole lot of those boxes that are open in South African entertainment. There's not a lot left. That's why it's time for me to get out of here and move on.
Yeah, the Generations one still kills me. I wish I saw that episode. I never did myself, but I would have loved to see you on Generations.
Did they give you a character, or were you given options? Like, did they say you can play this, and this guy, or you have to play this
Phineas and Ferb thing?
Yeah.
No, they had a character already, and they wanted me to voice that character. It was honestly, it was probably about, I don't know, 5 lines. So it wasn't even a lot to learn and to say. And I recorded it in one afternoon. In fact, there was probably about 20 minutes altogether. And it was this guy who I think he was selling something, and this is what he looked like. I mean, this is what the character looked like. So it doesn't even look like me. But I just had to do my own voice. I didn't have to put on a funny character voice. And then that was it. It was done. It was really fun. It was really easy. It was really quick. But yeah, cool thing to do. Yeah.
I just wanted to bring it up.
No, I'm glad you did. I mean, it's a cool thing to have done. So Bronwyn wants to know, is anyone watching Dharma on Netflix? I've seen a few people talking about this on social media, that they've been watching Dharma. And someone said that they got high. They smoked weed and then they watched Dharma and it really messed them up. They said it was very scary and they wish they hadn't done it.
Wasn't this the same Netflix film that they put in the category of the LGBTQ community, and then everybody got upset because it has no relation?
Really? Jeffrey Dahmer is a famous serial killer. That's all I know.
And that's why everyone was getting so upset about it. They were so mad because they put it in this category, and I don't know, it was just to push the viewership up using that category. I don't know. But I have read a lot about it. It sounds pretty interesting.
Maybe because he murdered and dismembered a whole lot of men and boys. So maybe they thought he was in the LGBT because he only went after guys. I don't know. I mean, he was a cannibal. He was a cannibal. He kept like a whole lot of body parts in the fridge, famously. But I think he eventually died in like 94. So I don't remember a lot, obviously during his life. But the famous story here about Jeffrey Dahmer is that he killed like 17 men and boys, as I recall it. That's the whole story. But I haven't watched the documentary either, or the movie. I don't know if it's a movie or a documentary.
Okay, so he's he only kills boys, homosexual serial killer.
Right.
That's in the LGBT plus.
Yeah, Inga says Dahmer was gay and was struggling with that, among other things. Okay, so listen, I just want to say to the LGBTQ, not that they're listening, the community. It's not even a community, by the way. We'll get to that in a second. I just want to say to them, just because this guy's not cool and interesting and flamboyant and he doesn't dress well, doesn't mean you can get rid of him just because he doesn't suit you. He's not convenient. You know, straight people have to take all the shit people as well as the good ones. We don't get to like, we have to keep people like, I don't know, Hillary Clinton. You have to keep people like Jeffrey Dahmer. Sorry, that's how it goes. Jeffrey Dahmer was supposedly gay and struggled with that, as Inga says. So he's in your community, whatever that means. And I had this conversation with someone the other day, and he's gay, and he said to me, oh, the LGBTQ community. And I was like, hang on a second. There isn't a community. There's no such thing, because the L's don't like the G's. The G's and the L's don't believe in the B's. The B's feel ostracized by the L's and the G's. The L's, the G's, and the B's are at polar opposites with the T's, because those three are about sexuality. This one is about gender. And so it goes on. And the poor A's and they have nothing to do with any of this. The A's are like, I was born with like asexual. I mean, not the A's, the intersex, the I's, LGBTQI. The I's are intersex, so they're born with both. They didn't ask to be part of the community. They're not like, oh, don't forget about me. Please include me. So it's not a community. I don't believe that for a second. It's like saying that, those people who voted for Jacob Zuma and Polokwane, that coalition of the disenfranchised, that they all love each other. You can see they don't. Look at them saying Humbug Wede now at this meeting this week. I don't believe that there's an LGBTQIA plus community. There isn't. They're the L's, they're the G's, they're the B's, they're the T's, they're the Q's, they're the I's, and they're the A's. And they don't actually have anything to do with each other. When last did you meet a lesbian who had a gay friend or a gay who had a lesbian friend? And if you know gay people and you know lesbians, you know for a fact they're not friends with each other. So let's stop with it. Just stop.
Yeah. It is quite a weird phenomenon, because I actually I have a trans friend now, and it's so weird because they haven't had the operation. I always find myself going she, and I'm like, I feel like I fucked up all the time. But it's also at the same time, I can see your boobs. You were on your period last year.
But if you don't use the right pronouns, then you're a bigot, Mark Mdluli. That's the truth.
Exactly.
You're a bigot on your way. You're a bigot on your way to children's theater.
Not a problem. Should be worried. But yeah, I'm a bigot. I can see your boobs. So
Ryan, hang on. I like this. So Ryan, the LGBTQ community are upset because Jeffrey Dahmer was categorized in that category of shows.
From what I've read briefly, yeah, it was like one of the 5 categories you can put a series into.
Oh wow!
And so I read.
They don't want him. They don't want him because he was a serial killer. You don't get to choose. If he was gay, he's in the community, whatever that stands for, right? Sorry, tough titties fuckers. Tough. He's in with you guys. You own that one serial killer LGBT community. You take what you get. Sorry. We didn't get. What, you think the straight community's thrilled that Adolf Hitler's in there? You think we like that? You know? You think we want Jeffrey Epstein? You think we're thrilled about that? Please. Sorry, you get to have whoever you have. If he was gay, then he's in the LGBT community, whether he's a killer or a cannibal or all three. Sorry.
Yeah, the whole point is that the LGBTQI is equal to everybody else. So
yeah, precisely.
You.
Exactly. Anyway, so a lot of people commenting on this. The point is, good point. Who is the Reverend Jesse Jackson? If the LGBTQ plus community, what do you mean? What has Jesse Jackson got to do with them? Is he in that community? I don't think so. Jesse Jackson, that's it. He's just a big race hustler. He's just someone who brings up race and makes money and shakes down corporations to give him cash. Otherwise, he calls them racist. That's what he is. Him and Al Sharpton, supposed leaders of the community. Anyway, I don't have a whole lot of time for them, as you may have gathered. All right, so we got a couple of things coming up. I've got to tell you about this episode of Blind History for today because it's really cool. We're talking about Ashoka the Great. Ashoka the Great was the emperor of the Mughal Empire, which is unbelievable. It was this huge, powerful northern Indian empire that came about somewhere around 200 BC, somewhere around there. This guy was a force of nature. He's just one of those people in history who managed to make the most incredible things happen and really brought a new religion, which was Buddhism, to full bloom in places as distant as China and Greece. I mean, the effects of Ashoka the Great are still being felt. And in fact, there's even a symbol of his on the flag of India. The wheel on the flag of India goes all the way back to him. His empire left a mark on all of Southern Asia, and we'll find out all about him in this new episode of Blind History. We're actually recording 2 more today, so I'm going to see Anthony this morning, and we're going to be recording 2 more episodes of Blind History. And by the way, if there's anyone who you can think of, because we pretty much got this season wrapped up, but who knows? If you've got any ideas, do let us know. We will add them to the pile, and we'd love to hear from you. So send us any ideas that you might have. All right, Mark, are you at your destination yet? I'm enjoying this. It's like we get to travel with you today. Are you there yet?
It's a long drive. You know?
It seems like, but it also seems like he's breaking up a little bit. I mean, we've had a pretty good connection with him most of the way.
Yeah,
not bad.
It's been great.
We'll let him go for this morning. We've only got like 5 minutes left anyway before we've got to get to Blind History. Great choice for Blind History today, Gareth. Well, thank you. But we're trying to cover as many interesting people as we can from all over the world. And it's really difficult. I mean, history is it is littered with amazing and terrible and brilliant and awful and phenomenal and scary people. You just, you dip in. Someone gave me a book for my birthday this year, which I'm making my way through now. And there are all kinds of facts about history, particularly kind of ancient history, which I didn't know about until now. And if you go down this rabbit hole, you will be busy for the rest of your life. Have you been watching Rings of Power or House of the Dragon? Oh, there's Mark. You're not there yet.
No, not yet. I've just heard the controversy about Rings of Power with regards to there being black hobbits. And people are quite upset about that because apparently black hobbits don't exist in J.R.R. Tolkien's imagination.
Well, I mean, he was living in England in the 1960s, so I don't think so. But who cares? Like, why can't we have black hobbits?
Yeah. It's an imaginary story, guys. Like, this happens in somebody's head. How realistic
They're
can it be when we're talking about rings that give you the power of gods?
Exactly. I mean, I hate to break it to like serious geeks who are into Lord of the Rings, but it's all bullshit. Like there wasn't an actual Sauron or Gandalf. I hate to make you people miserable, but like you're worried about what race a certain hobbit is, but none of these things existed. There's no such thing as wizards and hobbits.
And mermaids.
And mermaids. That was a controversy. Isn't that weird? Like people have a problem with Ariel. Now, I mean, I could care less about this stuff. I really don't give a shit what race any fantasy creature is. It's the least important or interesting thing to me. And people also going on about how in House of the Dragon, in what is it called? Game of Thrones. This is the prequel to Game of Thrones. Like some of the characters are black and some of them are white and some of them are gay and some of them. Of course, Hollywood is going to go to whatever length it can to try and be as woke as possible. That's all they care about. That's like the most important thing in Hollywood at the moment. That's all they give a shit about. But at the same time, who cares? Like, is it really gonna, if you don't like it, don't watch it.
Yeah. My whole thing is, I don't like, why are we still going on these old stories? Why can't they write some new stuff?
Right, exactly. Carl says, subject change. I got an inverter installed today. I won't know if I have load shedding. Never been so excited for a grudge purchase. Oh, man, that's very cool.
It's life-changing, for real.
That's very cool. Yeah. I like that. Carl, just wait till stage 8, says Ancient Ether. Just getting, like you're excited about having your new inverter, but then wait. It's coming. It's coming. Anyway, listen, that's all we got time for, peoples. Enjoy the rest of your morning. I'm going to bring you the latest episode of Blind History for this morning with Ashoka the Great. And if you've got suggestions for that, send us an email, contact@cliffcentral.com. I hope you're ready for an awesome day today. Big thank you to Mark Mdluli for being part of the show. Ryan, always good to have you on, and we will see you tomorrow at 6 a.m. But do not go away, because this special episode of Blind History is especially for you. It's never been heard before. You get to hear it first right here on the show. And it's all about Ashoka the Great. So here we go. Brand new episode. Within living memory of Alexander the Great, a vast, powerful, and extraordinary empire rose up in northern India. Forged by the strength, intelligence, and philosophy of one man, who in one lifetime went from warlord to monk, from outcast to emperor. His ideas brought a new religion, Buddhism, to full bloom in faraway places, and he's still commemorated in the flag of India. The empire of Ashoka the Great left a mark on all of southern Asia. H.G. Wells, in his famous Outline of History, wrote about this man. Amidst the tens of thousands of names of monarchs that crowd the columns of history, their majesties and graciousnesses and serenities and royal highnesses and the like, the name of Ashoka shines and shines, almost alone, a star. Now that's high praise for someone who many people in the world probably don't know as much about as they do, for example, Alexander or Augustus or Charlemagne or any of those great rulers. And Ashoka was probably the most important Mauryan emperor of India at a time roughly 100 or so years after Alexander. So in a period of history where, that part of the world was developing maybe faster than some parts of the Western world, and certainly there were belief systems starting to come into play that have been influential throughout history from that point onward. His name was Ashoka the Great. That's what they call him. And certainly someone who I was very, very pleased to discover had an incredible story.
Yeah, and that's what I love so much about history. I think it was in the 1800s, mid-1800s, that they started finding out about Ashoka, because previous to this, there was nothing really told about him. And he controlled swathes of territory,
huge
massive,
territory,
from modern-day Iran and the whole Indian subcontinent
And probably one of the things that makes this guy so compelling, and I do agree with you that this is the best thing about history, is you know, we've talked about so many people in every episode of this series from the first one. But when you discover someone new, or you discover someone whose name you might have heard in passing, but you actually get into their story, what's amazing about this guy is this incredible balance between pacifism and war, and the fact that he was both this incredible warrior and this great conqueror and this powerful, mighty emperor, and also this pacifist, this holy man, this converter, this person who brought a new way of thinking at a time where really life was pretty miserable and violent for most people on planet Earth.
It was very violent. And if you had to think the amount of people that he converted is maybe a strong word, but on the Buddhist side, to bring that across to a whole massive nation, or a whole lot of different smaller nations together.
Well, we'll talk about the spread of Buddhism a little bit later, but let's just start at the beginning of his story. He wasn't the eldest son of the Emperor Bindusara, but he was, I think, the second or the third son. And, you know, his elder brother was set to inherit things, but his father sent him at a young age to go and quell a rebellion. And off he went. Expectations were not high. The rebellion was quite strong, and he just took them down. And this was in his teens, maybe his early 20s. And he just emerged as this guy who had a knack for military maneuvers, for training, for sophisticated deployment of, you know, the right kind of infantry and the right sort of fighting men and elephants and all the rest of it. Remember, this is only, as I said earlier, within living memory of Alexander, when, you know, he had already disrupted that part of the subcontinent by his fights at the Hydaspes River and all the rest of it with Porus. So Alexander's enemy at the Battle of the Hydaspes was Porus, Emperor Porus, or the what was he? He was kind of he was a mid-sized ruler in that area. But when Alexander had come in there and disrupted things, that was where that whole northwestern area of India was changed forever.
And it's so interesting as we talk at Ashoka's court, there were Greeks still in the Ashoka's court. That for
Amazing,
me, just you know, there's a guy coming from Macedonia, and you got Greeks now in India, but that's a separate story. When he was sent,
the one guy was called Iona, which they think might have been Ionia, which could have been the area he was from in Greece, or that was his Greek name, and it was converted by the Indians to be Iona.
To be called
Wild,
Iona.
huh? Yeah, pretty amazing.
Yeah, but his dad sent him to quell this rebellion, and I think the big strong point that came out of this is that he was a great leader of men, because there was not a lot of bloodshed, and they came across to him and they believed in him. That really was a big part of his skill that he did throughout his 36 years as he reigned the Mauryan Empire. But that was one of the things that happened when he went there. And you know, it's hard to say if he was set up to fail, but it was an extremely difficult task that he had to do at the age of 18.
Yeah, absolutely. Nonetheless, he already was developing a pretty big reputation. He also had a bit of a rough skin. You know, he was regarded as being not particularly worthy as a successor. His elder brother was definitely the preferred one. But he decided after his father's death that he was going to take on his brother. And he soundly defeated him. It didn't take very long for him to prove that he was the guy.
Yeah, and then he threw his brother into a pit. Today it might seem a little bit over the top, but I think 2,000 years ago it was par for the course.
Yeah, Susima was the eldest brother.
Yeah. So there was talk of that his dad had 100 sons, but they're saying more than likely there was 4, and he wasn't the oldest, and Susima was the oldest. But in the end, he had the other 2 brothers killed as well, which is what you did. You just wanted to eliminate any.
You didn't take any chances.
No, you didn't take any chances, and you had to. I mean, you had to lead. You know, if you look at lions, I mean, the male lions will always kill the closest competitors.
That's right.
Yeah.
Now, both Sri Lankan and North Indian traditions say that he was a very violent man before he encountered Buddhism, but he fell in love with a girl called Devi. And Devi was a Buddhist. In fact, she came from the same clan as Siddhartha Gautama, the Buddha. And no doubt she was the one who first gave him insight into Buddhism, into pacifism, into the ideas that are prolific even today in Buddhism. And they say that after that, he was a completely changed person.
But often, I think why they said he was massively cruel and a despot, actually, was to show the massive difference, the aha moment.
Right.
I wanted that to be.
So you think a little bit of it might have been made up?
Yeah. So he might have been quite. He might have been a collaborative type of leader. We don't know. We don't know.
Say killing 3 of your brothers. It seems to indicate to me a bit violent.
Yeah, possibly. Yes. Fair enough.
Yeah. And he also used to do funny things like he would test the loyalty of his commanders and ministers by giving them orders to cut down every flower and fruit-bearing tree in a specific area. And when they failed to carry it out, then he would cut off the heads of up to 500 people. Now, again, this may be exaggerated. There's the story of one day during a stroll in a park, he and his concubines came across a beautiful tree. And the sight put him in a really sensual mood. And the women did not enjoy caressing his famous rough skin. Sometime later, when he fell asleep, the resentful women chopped the flowers and the branches of his namesake tree. After he woke up, he burnt 500 of his concubines to death as a punishment. Again, this number 500 sounds a bit exaggerated.
But I think even 50 would be quite tough.
Didn't know he had that many concubines, but the guy was busy. Anyway, he did eventually fall in love with this girl called Devi. This was his most important relationship. And he obviously had famous children with her, which we'll get to in a moment or two. But he decided at that point that this idea, this Buddhist tradition, was something he was quite interested in. And part of what makes him such a central pillar in the story of Buddhism is that he was the first one to actually send emissaries all over India. He visited famously the 4 major sites of Siddhartha Gautama's life, the place where he reached enlightenment, the place where he was born, the place where he died. And he was clearly a convert from that point on. I mean, he would go around and talk to anyone who wanted to know about the story of Buddhism, about his own story, about how they shouldn't war with each other, how you shouldn't hurt anybody or anything.
And
these
spread
were
the word
with,
I suppose you would call them missionaries of sorts out to China and Sri Lanka.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
And Thailand at the time.
And he would obviously eat only certain things. He established shrines all over the place, and he adopted the idea that tolerance was also massively important. So he never forced anyone to convert to Buddhism. He allowed people to practice their own religions, and in very many places they continued to. At that point, Hinduism and Jainism were the 2 other
they were
major religions.
And I think, that Hinduism probably was the major, and I think Buddhism was quite small at the time.
It was. And he actually managed to get Buddhism not only to be accepted in Sri Lanka, but to become the majority religion in Sri Lanka, which it remains to this day. I didn't know that, but this is back in 200 BC, and Sri Lanka is still affected by this.
Affected by what it's incredible.
It's amazing.
But according to the stories and according to the legend, but also they wrote stories on pillars, etc., because that's where they got most of his information from.
That's right. These beautiful columns that they built, and they had these lion heads on them. They were sort of, it was the capital of the column, the top of the column was beautifully sculpted in a way that, we talk about classical architecture. This was Indian classical architecture at its very best.
But on there, they described there's an area called Kalinga.
Yes.
And that area was extremely important from a trading perspective. And they weren't warring, there wasn't anything going on, but he felt that he's going to conquer this area, and they went in. It was extremely difficult. There was massive losses on both sides, but there was slaughter of 100,000 inhabitants. There were over 150,000 more that were taken hostage, and also thousands were left to die and from disease and famine. Legend says he walked through the desolate the battlefield where all these inhabitants were lying dead, and it just knocked him properly. And maybe as you'd mentioned a bit earlier, with Devi and the underlying all the scriptures that he actually learned and was feeling it just all boiled to the top, and that was the big turning point for him.
That was his aha moment.
That was his aha moment.
Damascene conversion. Now, I just want to quickly go back to the lion capital, because there are a couple of symbols there that are still hugely important in India even today. If you look at it, the lions are obviously a major part of this, but there's also the wheel, which is still on the flag of India, even to this day. And that wheel is called the Wheel of Moral Law, or the Dharma Chakra, which is part of what Indians still regard today as one of their foundational symbols. And I think that's really interesting, because it comes from a time long before, Gandhi and Nehru had decided to put it on the flag. But they obviously went back into history to find the original identity of this incredible emperor and all of the succession that he produced.
And if you look through the history of India, I mean, he really stands out massively as somebody that, to be able to lead such a massive empire passively.
Yeah.
It's just testimony to first of all, testimony to the leadership skills he had.
Yeah.
And his deep belief in what he...
I mean, this is not a time where you could get away with a philosophy of pacifism. There were a lot of people who would have immediately seen that as weakness and taken the chance of overthrowing you.
Yeah.
And he had, luckily, in the beginning of his career as a warlord, managed to kind of quell a lot of that.
So you had respect in that side already.
He had respect, yeah. And I think it's unfortunate that there wasn't a whole lot of success in his progeny. Usually when you get these great emperors, the very next generation is usually a bit of a dud. And that's absolutely true, because...
Sadly, that is. They say around 50 years or more, it fallen apart.
Fallen apart, yeah. So he died in his 37th year as emperor. And that's around 232 BCE, they think. He got ill. He started using state funds to make donations to the Buddhist cause. His ministers eventually denied him access to the treasury. He started donating his personal possessions. And on his deathbed, his only possession that he had left was the half of a fruit which he offered as his final donation to the Sangha. And such legends have encouraged ever since Buddhists to make generous donations in their last days, which is something that he started the tradition of as well.
But Gareth, the children, you mentioned a little bit earlier about children that he had with Devi and what they did. So what happened to them post his death?
Well, some of them went on. Obviously, there were huge fights because there was a queen who was called Tisaraka, who was the last one. And she apparently was very much trying to install herself. And she was really the mistress in the beginning. But his own children kind of disappear into history. We're not really aware of their contribution from that point on, because there was a massive amount of faction fighting between the children. And it didn't appear that there was any massive success for any of them post his death.
I think that the one settled in Sri Lanka. I think there could have been longevity in terms of what he believed in, and he made quite a statement in that area. I think it was called Ceylon a few hundred years ago.
Yeah, that's correct. Ceylon. That's what I think the English called it, Ceylon, and then it was renamed back to Sri Lanka. But he had plenty of queens. There was obviously the first one, which was Devi. Then there was Karuvaki. Then there was Padmavati, and then this Tisaraka that I told you about now. But Karuvaki is the only queen who is known from his actual inscriptions, in other words, contemporaneous sources. And she is mentioned in a pillar in a place called Allahabad. And the inscription names her as the mother of a prince called Tivara. And apparently, according to one theory, she was the last surviving queen. And her progeny were the ones who mostly inherited the bits and pieces of the empire that could keep together. By the way, they also say that when he died, his body, which was cremated, burnt for 7 days and 7 nights.
Oh, that's impressive.
Well, either that or it wasn't a very good fire.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, his sons, there were a couple of those. Mahinda is the one you're talking about who went to Sri Lanka. Then there were a bunch of others who were much less well-known. Some of the sons had sons, but none of them are really mentioned in the inscriptions around the time that he lived. So a lot of them were written much, much longer, much, much further down the way. So you could say a bit of hearsay, not entirely clear, but there was no direct line of succession.
Yeah, and I think, like I said in the beginning, it was 1837 that an English gentleman by the name of Prinsep, that that really started unpacking this and realizing who is this great leader. And more information came out that was the only empire builder of the ancient world who at the height of his power went into this passive, mutual understanding and harmonious relationships with the countries around him, or they weren't called countries.
And the religions around him.
him.
And famously, he also had all these rock inscriptions made, which kind of told the story of his reign and of Buddhism and of why it all mattered and what philosophies he embodied. But it was very much in his style of speech. So it almost feels to people, most people couldn't read in India. So the priestly class or the warrior class would have to read these things to people, and they would read them as if they were Ashoka. And that won a lot of people over. They were convinced that this was the best way certainly from a PR point of view, it was a real win, because people thought this guy has, the best possible ancient world PR machine working for him with these rock inscriptions.
Agreed. But like you said, you had to build his reputation first before switching, and his children never had that. Right. So I think that was maybe one of the reasons for the end of the Mauryan Empire 50 years later.
Yeah, it all ended, but the legacy lives on in architecture. I mentioned the stone architecture that really began during his reign, and the palaces that were built mostly out of stone then. Up to then, a lot of these places were not built in any permanent materials. So there's a huge legacy in the architecture. There's a legacy in symbols like the wheel that I mentioned earlier on, inscriptions that are still written all over the place, and coins, interestingly enough. A bunch of coins which are shaped almost like squares with two of the four edges leveled off. So almost like a tombstone shape, you would call it. And there were silver coins, there were punch-marked coins, and these were considered currency for trading, which was quite new in that part of the world at that time.
And the information that we get it's incredible, that the stories that you pulled out of it, because literally 2,200 years ago, whatever it was, it's so difficult to know exactly what was going on then. We just have so little information.
And there have been lots and lots of Bollywood productions in the last 20 years about Ashoka the Great, which all have a little bit of truth and a little bit of mythology in them, and plenty of dancing.
Of course, 100%.
Ashoka the Great. Thanks for listening to this episode of Blind History. Every episode is available on the Cliff Central app, cliffcentral.com, or wherever you get your podcasts. In the next episode,
at the age of 12, he went off to his mom's cousin, and this is where he was educated in the art of war and a lot of different things. He must have impressed somebody, because then he was knighted in 1166, and this really set him on his way.